Hello and welcome to One Health Organization Website Training 101. To access the login screen, you need to append /wp-admin to the address bar. This will bring us to the login screen where we can enter our credentials as sent to you when your user was made. Here's some we made earlier. Once you've logged in, you'll be presented with the dashboard. This is a general overview of what's happening in your site. Nothing particularly exciting or important. If you'd like to edit what you see here, then go to Screen Options and you can select the things that are visible or uncheck them and they'll disappear. As an example, welcome. Unchecked disappears, checked it appears. This is consistent with any page or post that has that Screen Options tab available. On the left hand side we have our main navigation, and today we'll be covering the difference between pages, posts and projects. Unintentional alliteration there. The main difference between pages, posts and projects is that projects and posts can be categorized, whereas pages cannot. So let's start with pages because they're the easiest. If we click on all pages, we're presented with a list of all of the current pages on our site. As you hover over each of these page names, you'll see a list of options: edit, quick edit, trash, view, clone and new draft. The difference between edit and quick edit is that if you select quick edit, you are only editing the metadata for the page. So you're not actually editing any of the content, only how the page is either categorized or some of the metadata that can appear in some page templates. If you want to create a private page or something that needs to be accessed by a password, you add that under the quick editor. Okay. Now, a majority of the time you won't be using the quick editor. You'll be selecting edit, and this will bring you into our regular content editor. Now, One Health has been built using the Avia framework, which is the Enfold theme. So when you initially log in, you won't have your advanced layout editor activated. So you need to select this button here, the advanced layout editor, and when you do, you'll notice that the visual editor updates to include these fancy pants sections. Okay, now while we're currently in development mode, we haven't sort of signed off on the final layouts of the pages. There's also a second box here which is full of code. Ignore this for the moment. It's used for debugging and will eventually disappear. However, now that we're presented with a page, the About One Health Organization page, we have all of our current content as it exists, as it was imported. We need to apply a template, a visual template, so that we can incorporate that data. The way we do that is by selecting templates and choosing the correct page template from this drop-down list. This may have changed between when this video was made and when you're viewing it finally. But something to note with these templates is there are two types of template: elements and pages or projects. So these are indicators of whether something is an element or only a part of a page, or whether it is a complete page template. So let's just choose the generic page template. And what that will do is import our default layout for pages. And this section here, which is the current existing content, can be dragged and dropped down to our little text placeholder, like that. Now, for a majority of the pages, that is pretty much the extent of what you'll do to pull the content into the correct place. However, you'll notice that we have these fancy pants headers as well. So This is obviously just default content, so let's start going into the existing content from previous pages and pulling it out of the text area. And pulling it into each of the new content areas. Okay, so there was just a messy little tag, a little messy H2 tag there that I had to clean up. But as you can see, all I did was select the area that was being pulled into a H2 tag and then reapply this drop down into paragraph. That's standard WordPress functionality, nothing too fancy there. However, we just extracted some of the title and we're going to pull that into the header. Remembering that the top header is white and the second header is blue. When you're changing these, just be mindful that you actually have to capitalize them manually, if that's the correct word. So put your caps lock key on. Whoops. Let's keep the existing info for the health and wellness space. That is the only space that you ever want to be lost in. I'll keep the ampersand there as well. Okay. So these styles are already pre-configured. One thing that you will need to do is change the background image if you want to. So click on this little icon here, and if you need to change that image, you can. You'll be able to select from a range of images that are pre-existing in the media library, or you can upload a new one. Just keeping in mind, it's very important when you select an image. Over here on the right hand side, you've got your attachment display settings. You want to make sure that they are big enough to fill the space. So in this case, we'll use full size. What I'll do this incorrectly. So let's choose thumbnail. We'll insert that image. You'll see down here that the settings for that background image are set so that they will stretch to fill the background space. With such a small image dimension, that will mean that that image pixelates. So we're making a mistake on purpose. It's cool. Over here, by default, our content pages have a little title on the side. So you just need to come up with some content that is appropriate. And then these footer sections are managed under widgets. So we'll come into the, I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. So we update. And now if we review that page by selecting preview changes, we will see, hopefully with great vindication, that the background image is very large but pixelated. Okay, so now we need to update the background image dimensions, but the other thing that we need to work out is this top header section. So on the other pages on the site, we have a transparent and glossy header. So let's just go in and change those settings now. So over on the right hand side, one of the layout settings that we need to adjust on each of the pages is to select transparent and glossy header. And now when we update the page, that will actually sort out the navigation. It doesn't sort out the background image for that top section, so we'll do that as well. This is live TV, folks. Let's just edit that section and just make sure that the dimensions that are applied against the background image are as large as they can be, so that we get as much detail for that background image as possible. So here it's defaulted to medium. And let's bring it up to full size, insert, and now we'll get a lot more detail, enough visual detail for that to be a very pleasant and appealing page. Okay, so we'll update. I'll just navigate to that page now. Opening it in a new tab. And voila, yes, isn't that beautiful? So with this background image for the header, it's probably going to align a little bit better if we have that section, that stick section down the bottom. So what we can do is change the alignment of that image. So we're clicking into the background section, so this color section block. We are now going to change that from top center to center. Oh, actually, that image is not going to look great. It's actually aligned to the top. Okay, just forget about what I said. We'll change it to center anyway and just have a look and see if it makes any difference. I don't think it will. But yeah, just stop your memory, rewind to that point just before I started talking about changing the alignment of that image, and then press play. Let's see what it looks like anyway. It may have made some small difference. However, because the image itself is aligned top, it may not have. Okay, and no visual difference whatsoever. I'm sorry folks, you'll never have that time back. Okay, as we scroll down the page, we have this Donate to One Health, sign up for our newsletter, major sponsors, and our footer. So the footer is set by default under the theme settings tab, and we'll come to that in a moment. But these three sections, the major sponsor, the newsletter, and the Donate to One Health, because these are appearing on multiple pages, they've been set up as widgets so that we can update them in one place, and they'll propagate through everywhere that those widget sections are applied. So back here, you'll notice that widget area 1 is donations, newsletter capture, and partners. If you want to make updates to those, you're making updates to a global setting, and you do that over here on the left hand side under widgets. This is also an area where you can create new widget areas. So we'll click on widgets. Now those widget areas, those widget sections, correlate to the ones that are named here. Partners. Under partners, we have the content for those 4 areas, meaning that should we update the major sponsor, strategic partner, etc., the information that's contained within this area will propagate across all pages that hold that widget area. Okay, so it's a powerful tool when you want to create content that you may have to update and that will be affected across every page. If we go back to the page, it could be that you want to create a slightly different layout for this page than just the default content. So we've kept the consistency with the header, we've got some content in here, so maybe we want to put a particular type of content in there, and the way that you would do that is by accessing the content elements, and I will go into this in a little bit more detail in the next video. But let's say on this page in particular you wanted to put a donation button. You select the content element of button, in this case let's just make it a small button, left click and drag it down to where you want it to appear. And just for something zany, let's stick it over here in the left hand content area. Okay, what's just happened is I've attempted to drag it into a container and it's missed, and so it pushed everything out. It defaulted to a full width. So that mistake again, whoops, darn, I've broken the template. Don't freak out, you haven't. Drag it into one of these content sections, and then click into the content element, and this is where you change all the settings as it pertains to that particular button. So we'll stick it with a star icon. And then you can set the link, the button link, either to an existing post campaign page portfolio, excuse me, or some of the taxonomies. Excuse me. Okay, we'll just push this to company partners and then choose the company partner that it relates to. Okay, sorry, that's a bit dumb. Let's go back. We'll make it a page, and we'll put it onto the donation page. Donate to One Health, like so. Okay, clicking into that button again. We've chosen the button size as small. That's never going to work. Let's make it large. By default, when we select colors, this is essentially choosing the CSS or the style of the button, and by choosing theme color, it's just choosing the default. So this is a blue button by default. If for any reason you need to change it to something a little bit racier, so it really sticks out, then you can do that by selecting the colors. Otherwise, down the very bottom, there's a custom color, and you can put in a CSS code, good old 767676, and change the font color if you want to. Yeah, I think we're going to get a lot more donations with a button that color. Anyway, it's just to make a point. Once you're happy with that, even though you've saved within the edit section, it's not actually saved to the database until you click on update. Once you select update, then that will be saved to the database, and then when we navigate to that page, here's the old version, we can refresh, and our fancy pants button should be in on the left hand side. Bam! Oh, those colors, so beautiful. Okay, obviously that's not going to be okay, so we can get rid of it simply by deleting it. However, if we actually think that it is something that may be useful and something we may want to reuse, we can save that element as an element. So this little bit of information, just this button, and all the styling configuration that we've done can be saved. We click this icon here. Oops, click the icon. Grr. Click icon. Now, it's very important that you maintain a naming protocol here so that you don't get confused when you choose from your template drop-down list. So I choose to call elements element, and then give it a more meaningful name. Yellow. Okay, save that, and what that does is it makes it a page element that can be accessed under the templates drop down. So donate grey button yellow text. Now if I click on this, that element will go down to the bottom of the page, and I'll be able to grab it, left click it, and drag it wherever I want it to appear on either this page or a subsequent page. We, however, do not want either of those, and because this is actually a real page, I'm not going to be put something a little bit less tongue-in-cheek, and now I will save that. And boom, boom, boom. Okay, so here's something fun. The company partners and project partners taxonomy is available to us on Pages, something that I didn't even realize was possible. So if you are putting content in there that is relevant to either a project or a partner, you can choose from commonly used company partners, or if it's a new company, you can just type something new into this box here. Okay, now these sections here are accessible under screen options. If you find that you're using something almost never, then say company partners is not something that you're going to be using on your pages or post, unselecting the checkbox will make it disappear, like so. Same thing with publish. Actually, you can't get rid of that one. If you want to remove these just to make them a little bit the actual visual appearance a little bit simpler, then that's totally fine as well. Okay, anyway, we'll get rid of that. Update, and now our page has been edited. Okay, so for a majority of the pre-existing pages, that process of simply navigating to a page, applying the default template, and then slightly altering the main text area so that it fits within this visual display, that's going to be a bulk of the work that you do. It may be that you don't want to have donations, newsletter capture, and partners on that page for whatever reason. That's fine. Anything that you remove can easily be replaced. These three sections down the bottom actually have an element under templates, which is the element footer set of 3. So this element here is those 3 widgets. So we'll just add those just so you can see what I'm talking about. So now we've got 2 lots of that section. So getting rid of them is as simple as deleting them out like so. The other thing that is possible with these widget areas is, of course, to choose from all available widgets. So if you find that there is a widget, or you create a widget that you want to appear on multiple pages, then you just select the available widgets from this drop-down list. Okay, so let's get rid of that, and we'll update, and that page is basically done. Okay, so that's a fairly quick run through on just editing existing pages using the pre-existing templates. I will just go into the text section just to show you a few little things. My recommendation when you're working with text is that you copy and paste text in first, just without any styling or layout done. Then go in and get your layout looking the way that you want. Just remember, shorter paragraphs are easier to read. They don't seem quite so overwhelming to the eye. So keep it tight. What you may want to do, if you're adding images, you can either add them via the text editor, or add them as a standalone image using the media options, which I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So let's say we do want to add an image to the top of this. We'd click on the area where we want the media to appear, select Add Media, choose an image. Now this is a very large image, but we have the option, as mentioned before, to make it a smaller image. And let's say we go 845 by 302. We can insert that. And click on the image, you see alignment options. So for this image we want to align it center, which means that the text will wrap around it. And just to be doubly sure, we're just going to create an additional page break. Save that. Okay, so that's option 1 for adding images or media to your text content. The other option is to add an actual media block. So we'll delete that out, save it, and up here one of the media element options is an image. Now the reason that there is a benefit to using the blocks this way is that each of these container blocks is managing the mobile responsiveness of the content on the page. So it just means that if you're using a standalone image block, only if it's appropriate to the layout of the page, it means that the mobile responsiveness will be taken care of in the back end. So we've pulled the image media block in. I'm just going to insert image. It's exactly the same process. Choose that image. That size is selected by default because we've chosen that one most recently. Check out the alignment, center. We could add some animation to it as well. Let's make it fade in, like so. We'll update, and then when we revisit the page, those changes will be reflected. Okay, well, I'm just going to reload the page so that we can see that image comes in as an animation, it fades in. But as we review the page, we can see here on the left hand side, we are social entrepreneurs. That doesn't look great. So here's some fun little things that we can do with the page. If we decide that we want that whole page, that whole word entrepreneurs to fit in, we can increase or decrease the size of these display columns quickly and easily just by using these toggles. So now this is 2/3, and we can increase this to 1/3. If we save the page now, go back to our live page and reload, then we've altered the width of the left-hand column, and it should all fit in nice and neatly. Now that difference of moving the width of this column from 1/4 to 1/3 won't really be picked up by most people. If they do, then they're very particular jive turkeys, and you should not mess with them. Just a visual suggestion now. Don't have to take it on board if you don't want to. Most text content on this site will be improved by making the first line bold. Just creates a little bit of additional visual weight. And I'm just going to delete this image out because it wasn't part of the original content, and that's really something that One Health should decide. So I'll update. And now we will have the final version of the page. And obviously this is not considering any text or content updates that may happen between now and the site going live. But you see here, I like that. Bit of color, bit of blue. I think the text is a little bit small, so the only change that I'd make is to go in and alter the default text size. So you see down here the font size is a default size. If we increase that to 14, it's going to be a little bit easier. Maybe 16, easier again. Update page. And away we go. So, thank you for paying attention. I know you'll never have that half an hour of your life back. However, hopefully you are a little bit better informed and feel a little bit more able to begin making changes to this site. Okay, that is all for now. Tune in for the next episode, Making Page Templates.